Hello, welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, and this is Module 10, and we're ready to start our mini assignments. We have the drape, the hanging curtain, open the curtains, and the flag. So we got 4 mini assignments. Don't worry, the most trouble you're going to have is just getting all the modeling completed. So we're going to start off. We want to drape a blanket over a cadaver. Over a surgical table. So let's go ahead and get the scale down first, which is going to be meters. So what we want to do is we want to set our scene up as meters. So go ahead and go into the settings preferences. Under settings, we want to click on working units, or just have that under working units next to linear. We want to go from centimeter to meter. Make sure you click and save that. Next thing you want to do is you want to make sure you are on the time slider and make sure you play every frame for playback speed, and then max playback speed to be 24 frames per times 1. Click on save. So you're all good to go now. For cloth dynamics, we want to be in meters to get the best simulation, and so we need to get a character in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this gear on the side, and we're going to go to load shelf. And in here you're going to click on, you're going to scroll down and click on what looks like it says shelf. It says shelf underscore paint effects .mel. So you click on it and click on open. I've already got mine open, so go ahead and click open. And that will load up at the very end here, so you click on that and it comes up with the shelf for the paint effects. And then on this one here, I want you to click on what looks like a little jar with a butterfly coming out. Just click on that. And then in here we have all our examples that we can use. So we're going to go to modeling, we're going to go to sculpting base meshes, and we're going to click on bipeds. And we're going to click on the human body.ma. That's the best one. Okay? Go ahead and drag that into your scene. Just drag and drop. Okay, just drag and drop it. And there he is. Okay? So each one of these units equals 3.28 feet, I think. A meter is about 3.28 or something like that. Don't quote me on that. So that's about right. This would be a little over 6 feet, maybe 3 or 4. So he's maybe 5'9", maybe 5'10". So that's correct. So this character is actually correct. So we can scale everything around this character, okay, which is nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with him laying down. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and lay him down like that, -90, like that, and just hit the W key and move him up. And at this point I want to kind of center him. So I'm going to go to poly modeling and center him, center pivot. And we want to place him so his heels hit this part right here, the 0, 0. So I'm going to bring him down so his heel hits. I don't care if his leg goes through a little bit or his back. That's okay. That's where we want him. Okay, we want his feet to be hitting the 0, 0 plane. I'm going to center him. I'm going to turn on the grid snap and just go ahead and center him up here. There we go. So that looks good. So he's all centered now. Problem is his arms are nice and stiff, which is, you know, rigor mortis, which means the blood kind of, what is that, clots and solidifies, and you can't move the arms at all. Anyway, we don't want that. Okay, so we want his arms to be laying down. So I'm going to show you a cool little trick that you can use to get that to work for you. So let's go to the top view and hit the F key. And what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and select this section of the arm. So I'm going to go to vertices. and I'm going to click on the drag tool and just drag that around. So just drag it, just kind of get that armpit and all around the arm itself like that. There we go. And then I'm going to go around here and just kind of hit the F key so I can kind of focus on that, and that rotates around the object. Hit the Q key, and I can get rid of the, or add to this. I want it to just kind of go around the arm, and I do want these points in here, so I'm going to hold the Shift key down. And I'll show you very quickly. It's going to be kind of a fun little thing I'm going to show you. You can use this for all types of characters and modeling to move objects around and not have to worry about causing any issues like ripping and tearing of the mesh. And this is very difficult to do otherwise. So I'm just going to do this arm right here. Let's do one at a time. Okay, so with that done, I'm going to hit the B key. You see what happened? The P key invokes a cool little function here called soft selection. Okay, you can see that. Let me do that again for you. Double click on the move tool, and you can see the soft selection here, which is really cool. So I can turn that off and on. You can also turn it off and on hitting the B key, as in boy. You can turn that off and on. Now some of you have accidentally hit the B key instead of the V key, so they're very close together, and so when you hit the B, as in boy, key, that invokes the soft select, which is what we want now, okay, which is cool. Alright, how does that help us? Well, it's pretty cool because you can go in there and scale it up if you want to, the fall off radius. For what we're using it for, just keep it at 5. If you don't see that at 5, make sure you change it to 5. But you can turn the radius up if you want to, and that will select more of the character, which we don't want to do. So let's go ahead and go to 5. But this is a very powerful tool. I use this all the time, and in modeling and moving my characters around into pose if I want to. It's actually very, very powerful. So I'm going to rotate around that, but we don't want to rotate around this particular axis. So I'm going to hit the W key, and I'm going to move that pivot point, which is really powerful. I can do that while it's in this mode, which is incredible. So I'm going to go to the top view and get that set up to be right at that pivot point where I want it to be by holding the D key down as D as in Dan. Okay, and then just kind of rotate around and see how you're doing on this side of things. So I'm going to hit the D key and move it down a little bit so it's centered, and there we go. So now all I have to do is hit the rotate tool, right, and rotate that arm. That's awesome. Just ever so slightly. I just need to rotate it so the arm is touching the ground like that. And you can see there's no ripping, no really bad tearing. And so I'm going to do that to the other side so you can see that. It looks really nice. So you can see how you can move your character's clothes around or arms around, just like I showed you here. So let's get the other arms, kind of practice this a little bit. And let's go to the top view again. You didn't think this was going to turn into a modeling class, but it's kind of interesting stuff here. I'm going to click off that, and because it's already invoked, I'm going to go ahead and select, marquee select what I want here. And sometimes I do a good job and sometimes I don't. And so I'm going to click off, so I'm going to hit the Q key to turn selection off. And I'm going to add the selection that I want. And there's some pieces that I didn't select, and there are pieces that I may not want to select. I may select too much, and that happens in the back here, kind of. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. You see right here. There we go. So that'll be nice and smooth. Okay. All right. Basically that's it, and I'll do the same thing with this arm over here. I'm going to hit the rotate tool, and that doesn't work, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the D key and just move that around. Go to the top view, hit the D key and move that around, and just kind of get that in the center. There we go, kind of like we had before. Maybe something like that. And do the same thing right here. Just get that centered a little bit better. And then again, we can take this one and just hit the rotate tool and just rotate that down. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect again. And we can hit the Q key to get out of there. Now if you go back into vertex mode, it'll still be into the soft select. You might want to turn that off. You can either hit the B as in boy key until it turns off, then you're good. The next thing we're going to do is the head's kind of strangely upright, so it's like he's still alive, and that's not correct. So we got a cadaver, so what we're going to do is marquee select the just right in the center of the neck like that. Perfect selection. This one doesn't have to be as precise. So select that, hit the Q key, and then we're going to select the B. Okay, there we go, and then we'll go ahead and rotate. Now that doesn't usually work that well, but you know, for this I don't have to move the pivot point. I could if I wanted to by holding the D as in dog and just moving it down like that, and that will work, and then rotating it. That's fine. I could have done it this way. I'll show you what I mean by that. So if I can Control Z back, I can still rotate this and then hit the W key and just move it down. You see, it does the same thing. Okay, it's whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, whatever you think is working better for you. So we want his head to be kind of hitting the ground. There we go. So very cool stuff. Alright, so now let's talk about, now we got this guy, and you're going to want to make 2 of him. Now that you got him done, what you're going to do is, let's pull that back, and I've got everything finished, so I'm going to move him up a little bit and out of the way because I've already got this finished. So I need a floor, right? So basically create a floor that is 1, 2, 3, 4, so 8 units across by 8 units across. You can see that I've got 8 units here. Okay, so just make that, and then I've got sections of basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. Okay, and then what I did was I duplicated the floor once I made the floor. Okay, you don't have, if you're a little bit bigger than this or a little bit smaller, that's okay. Just try to get it as close as you can. And then the walls, I just duplicated the floor, rotated them, and then squished them a little bit so they look like that. So it's just basically a wall. Okay, the floor, just duplicated that to make a wall, and then I created this wall. And now how did I get that hole? Well, what I did was, it's very simple. I'll give you kind of a demo with this wall here, just for fun. And so with this wall, I just well, I still have that soft select on. That's a problem, so turn that off. There we go. I'm just going to hit delete, 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 delete. And all I did was I went in here, right clicked and went to edge, and double clicked on the edge, and did a Control E, and moved that in like that, And then all I did was right clicked over, go to selection, hold down the shift key, right mouse button, go to target weld, and I went into vertex and just kind of target welded those in like that. Okay, just like that, just so simple, and it doesn't take long at all to create a little window here. And that's what I did on the other side. So that's how you do that sort of thing. And I'm sure most of you would have figured that out, but that's a fast way of doing a window. Now I don't want to keep that window, obviously, so that was just a demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to where I was, because now that I've shown you, you guys can get that done. Okay, right. So there's my wall, and we're going to call him Fred. He's Fred. Alright. So Fred, we can move around. He's going to be on the table. So with him now, we can scale our scene. Okay. So what I did was, at that point, I created a surgical table. So you can see what mine looks like. It's just a couple cubes together. One is the very top of the table, and then I have um, a foundation, basically something that's a lot more rigid. It is a piece of, basically a piece of steel, and then from there you have, basically I just, you can design it any way you want. Just a cylinder. It looks like it would go up and down, so it's kind of looks like a surgical table. And I did that by making sure that my character was over it. And there's a reason why I have it over here by itself. We're gonna put everything together. We're gonna do the drape, the hanging curtain, and open the curtains all in the same scene, but we're gonna do one at a time. We're not gonna be doing all three because that would cause a crash. We'd just be doing one at a time. Okay, and notice our character is very low poly. Do not use a high poly character. You will have all kinds of problems. Okay, so now that I've got that table all scaled up the way I want it, I believe the table's around 8 feet tall and maybe 5 feet wide. You can kind of check it out from the top view here, what I got and how I did it. So there's the table here. Here's the guy, old Fred. Old Fred. There we go. And so Fred lays on top of the table. He's had better days, And let's see here. So he lays on top of the table. That's good. Get him kind of where he needs to be. It's okay if he kind of goes into the table a little bit. It's normal. Fred doesn't care. He's just kind of hanging around. Alright, so just like make his heels hit the very top, and that's it. So that's it. That's Fred, and that's the table. And so the first one you'll want to create a small drape cloth like I have here. It's a single-sided polygon, and I think you kind of have to mess around to get the squares exactly the way you want it, and it really depends on the size, right? So it'll take you some time. If you want to sit there and count, I don't have a count with me. I want to say 20 by 30 is what I want to say, and that's the draping. And when you do the simulation for the drape, it's just one-sided, but you have to be careful because we all know, and now cloth is different though. You see the black side? That's the normals aren't facing the right way. So if you add a end cloth passive body to it, or excuse me, end cloth to it, and it goes through the body, and you did a passive end cloth on there on the character, and it doesn't collide with it, then you got to flip the normals around, okay, or just flip the drape, this part around like this. So that's got to be facing, okay. It really depends. Let's see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. Alright, so that's the draping one, okay. And then I want you to, the next thing will be let's see here, the curtain rods, right? Let's see if I can get the curtain rods. Where are they at? Oh, here we go. Curtain rods. So these are the other ones we need, and they're about an inch in diameter, somewhere around there. I had to guesstimate because it's really hard to scale things in meters, as you know. It's kind of an odd thing because each one of these is, like I said, 3.28 or something like that. And so I did was I created one, moved it across the whole entire building, and then this one here is a smaller one. You can see how I did that, and it kind of goes past each side. So it's just a cylinder. And then the curtains, they're the hardest things to do. It's not hard. Anything we do in here is not going to be hard. It's just time consuming. So what we want to do with this curtain is we want to go across about to here. We don't want to go all the way across, but right about to there. So how did I do that? So let's take a look what I came up with. So we got the small curtains there, okay, which are kind of cool. Okay, Alright, show you how to do those. And you notice they're low poly, right? And then we've got the large curtain. That's cool. So that's how that looks. That looks pretty nice. I like that. Almost touching the ground, but not quite. You know, kind of like what you see in the surgery, or not surgery, but you know, to separate the people and stuff like that. Right. So that curtain's there, and so that's kind of what we're looking at doing. Okay. Alright, so how did I do that? So I'll take you through that process. So I'm going to take these out for now. There we go. And take you through how I modeled that. So what I did was I just went into Create and went into the Curve Tools and into the EP Curve Tool. And I reset it. And that's it. And then I went in here. Just got a little bit closer like this. And what I did was, I want to kind of create a wave. So I'm going to start over here, and on this side of the rod, so you want to stay on the rod, don't want to go outside of the rod. Don't go like this. That won't look good. You're not going to be able to get that to work. So I'm going to hit the backspace key. And you want to kind of follow and kind of be random. Maybe this goes a little bit farther and this one's a little bit closer. And I'm going side to side, and then I can make a run that goes a little bit farther down and then kind of make another. And these are folds in the draping, okay? And we kind of want it to be kind of random looking. That helps with the realism. Okay, we want some folds to be pretty close together and then some farther away. Again, you don't want to go beyond. See, I'm pretty close to going outside of that area there, so I'm going to hit the backspace key and just get. You don't have to be precise, but it's nice that you don't go outside of that. So we want to kind of just stay within that, and I can move down as I'm doing this. Make that a little bit closer right here. At the very end, we'll have a couple more. There we go, like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, like I said. And a little bit farther down, maybe. There we go. And just a little bit more. Okay, good enough. Right, there we go. And then we're going to move that up. So there is our first curtain, and we'll start, there's the ground, just bring it up like a foot or so. And then we're going to duplicate that. So Control D and then move that up. And we want that to touch the very bottom of the bar. That is important. Just the very bottom. Like that. Okay, perfect. That's where it's going to hang from. And then we'll go to the perspective. You'll have that one selected. Hit the Q key and then shift select the other one. And then you're going to loft it. So you're going to hold down the space bar. And if you don't see this, go back to Mudbox or Hotbox controlled Mudbox. I hate that program. So Hotbox controls and go to show all. That's what we want. There we go. That way you can see everything. I think you guys might have just had the FX. So I'm just going to hold that down and go to surfaces, and we're going to go loft. That's it. Cool. And that's a surface, so you cannot use end cloth with that, so that won't work. So you have to turn it into a polygon. So how do you do that? Well, we're not done with this yet. So under the loft, okay, we need to turn the sections up to 8. And that's under inputs, loft 3 to 8. So that's how I did the other one. This will give us a nice result. Okay, so you can see how those are nice and even. And then what we're going to do is go in here and go to modify and convert NURBS to polygons. And it's really important. This is what it looks like, and that can be really overwhelming. So I just tell students if it's a closed surface, you don't have any openings or holes in it, you can do this. So click on control points. This is the fastest way to do it, and then tessellate. And that's going to give you all quads, which is exactly what you want. Perfect. So I'm going to go back, and I would place the surface, okay, and that's that, and you can see that in your outline or what that is. It's a lofted surface, and put it in a layer. I've already done that. So I'm going to just don't delete yours, keep yours. I'm going to delete mine because I already put in a layer. And so this is my polygon. It says NURBS to poly. So I can just retype whatever I want in there. It can be like large curtain or whatever you want. Okay, like that. And then we're going to convert or smooth it once. You don't want it to go crazy with this. Just smooth it one time at 1. So we'll go to smooth into the option box and make sure it's set to division levels of 1, no higher. There we go. Because that will simulate just fine. If you do anything higher, it's going to really slow things down. So there's your curtain. Very cool and very quick. Okay. Okay. Alright, so now that I've showed you how to do this, you will do the same thing at a smaller scale here. And this is what I'm going to get rid of that because, you know, I've already done all this stuff. So I don't need any of this stuff. You don't do this. Do not delete your stuff. I've already done this, so I just wanted to show you how to do the curtains. And so I've already got my small curtains, so you can see what I did here. You want to make sure that there's a gap between here, at least 3 or 4 inches. Okay, and you can see they're both polygons, and I did the same exact thing at a smaller scale over here. Okay, so you know, just rewind the video if you want to watch it again and to do these. Okay, and that's your scene in a nutshell. So we'll be able to do 3 different simulations. So we'll be able to do the drape. Okay, we'll be able to do the hanging curtain, and we'll be able to do the open the curtains. Okay, but you're going to save them out as 3 different simulations. Okay, you're not going to do all 3 at once. Okay, you're going to do these. So you're going to do the simulation for the drape, and then you're going to do a play blast of that. You're going to save the MB file, and then you're going to open up a new version. So you're going to open up this version. I need you guys to duplicate Fred and make another character called Steve. Okay, so Fred and Steve, they're in cahoots together, causing all kinds of trouble. I don't know where I put Steve at, but oh well. So yeah, Fred and Steve, there we go. So I don't need him anymore. So there's Fred and Steve. So Steve over here, he's going to go through the curtain. He's going to simulate somebody going through the curtain. So that's what we're going to do with the hanging curtain. We're going to hang it and then get it into its rest position and then move Steve through it. Now Fred, he's got troubles of his own, but what you're going to do is you're going to save. Once you get the scene, you're going to select everything. You're going to center pivot, delete by type history, freeze transformations, and then go in here and save it and don't touch it. Okay, so you'll do what I did here, where I've got one thing ready to go, and I'll take you through the whole process of do the simulation for the cloth. Okay, so basically that's just the modeling, and I want you to add at least materials, and if you feel like you want to go crazy, feel free to go ahead and go above and beyond and texture this if you want to, and I will make it extra credit that if you guys get some realistic textures on every single thing in here, I will give you extra credit of 10 points, and it has to be on each one of these, obviously the whole scene. But again, we're only simulating one at a time. So you would simulate the cloth falling down, and you'd save that out as an MB file, and you would call it something like your first last name, and it would be called the drape. And then you would clear the scene out, and you would go file open, you open the scene again, and you would just take this and you would just turn that off, right? And so then you would do the simulation where this is hanging and Steve goes through it, right? And pushes the curtain out of the way. And then you would, play blast that, save that scene as hanging curtain, your first last name hanging curtain, and then you would go back to file and new scene, and that would clear the scene out, and then open the scene up again one last time, and you'd have everything in here, right? You'd have all this stuff, but we're not really going to concentrate on that. You can have that in there, and then we're going to open the drapes by using some invisible objects here to open the drapes up. Okay, so it'll be fun. It'll be exciting, and you'll have a lot of fun. You'll learn a lot, and then the last one, the grand finale, will be the flag. So you'll create a flag, and I want you guys to go all out on that. Some of you, it would be really cool if you guys could, do some problem solving and make a torn flag, not just a beautiful, perfectly. So that means you're going to have to go in and do a transparency map and make it look like it's torn and stuff like that. So that'll be cool. So again, you get all that stuff done and you texture everything, you'll get 10 extra credit points. I know that's a hassle for some of you, and some of you don't like to do that, but for this one, I'm going to leave it as an option to texture. You do have to add materials, otherwise you'll get 4 points off, because it's so hard to see any contrast between these objects if they're all gray. So you have to have some contrast. Okay, so you can use the same colors I've got, or use your own colors, whatever you'd like to do. Anyway, this is the modeling part, and make sure everything's clean. Again, select it, center pivot, delete by type history, freeze transformations, and then save everything, and you're good to go. Don't accidentally save over your original file. So you'll have 3 different files for each one of these. You'll have a different play blast for each one, and all that. So have fun doing it, and I'll see you in the next video. We'll take you through how to create an end cloth and drape it over the cadaver. Alright, always fun. Alright, see you guys later.